This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, because the bulls out the pen and they about to stampede.
What would you take away from it? Positive or negative?
Some observations. Maybe I'll just go from offense to defense. We've talked a lot about the quarterback. I think that Davis Mills has looked sharp. He's had some good moments out there. We've talked a lot about CJ already. At wide receiver, I think Robert Woods established himself as the leader of the group, and he should be from an experience standpoint. In talking to Ben McDaniels, the receivers coach today, he's been very impressed with what Robert has brought to the table, and also he's hopeful for Nico Collins that he can make that leap in his 3rd NFL season and take more steps forward. I think if he had been healthier last year, it was going to be a really good season. He was off to a solid start. And then with John Mechie, he expressed confidence that he will return. He will play this season, and even though he's injured now. So, that was good to hear. And John obviously has been through a lot with leukemia, missing his entire rookie season. And with Tank Dell, he loved his ability to get off into his routes, has good separation techniques, good ability to, get himself open, and separate, and has shown good hands. So, and that's my observation too. And I'm not a professional receivers coach like Ben. When you think about the offensive line, I know that Larry McTunsell, he's not there because he doesn't need to be. And he wasn't there last year, and he had a good season, actually a great season, and that's why he makes $25 million a year. But they've had the other guys out there, with the exception of Kenyon Green. On the right side, you've had Shaq Mason and Titus Howard working together, and Titus, who is seeking a new contract, looks good out there, and Shaq, who's just gotten a new contract. And then there's a competition between Juice Scruggs and Scott Quisenberry at center. That's going to be a pretty good one to watch. And then, at tight end, today was our first day watching Dalton Schultz, and he's like you would expect. He's a very experienced tight end. He's very polished, and he understands spacing, knows how to catch passes very well. I think he'll be one of their top targets. And going to the other side of the ball, we haven't had a lot of the defensive line. We've had, some guys like John Grenard that had injuries last year. We've seen Jerry used a lot. Jerry had a good season. Jerry looks just like he did last year, very quick and explosive. I think if they can get a full season out of John, that would help them a lot. No Malik Collins, no Sheldon Rankins, and as I mentioned before, Hassan Ridgeway and Thomas Booker are injured. Roy Lopez looks really good. I think Roy's had a really good offseason in the weight room. It looks like he's really hit the weights hard. Same thing with Kurt Heinisch. I think they've got some depth now at defensive tackle. It's a stronger position, and when everybody's here and healthy enough to play, I think it'll be a good spot. Linebackers really competitive. And talking to Chris Kiffin, the linebackers coach today, about Christian Harris, he said, man, jumps off the tape, run and hit linebacker, great speed, loves his passion, the way he attacks the ball. He agreed with me. I called Denzel Perryman a tone setter, a thumper. He's definitely got that going for him. And he's a Christian Kirksey. Everybody calls him Kirko. Kirko has been a real benefit to him in helping ease his transition, is very smart, understands the defense really well. And then looking at the secondary, which I think could be a real strength for this team, and got a chance to talk to Corey Unlin, the passing game coordinator, and also to Dino Vasso, who coaches the corners. And everybody was talking about Derek Stingley's put on some muscle. You can see that probably in some of the photographs that have been released of him this offseason, whether it be from the team or from media. And I think it's mostly just his upper body. And they said he hasn't lost any speed. He looks just as fast and fluid to me. I actually have an article coming out on that pretty soon at clicktohouston.com. And I think Sting is primed for a big leap in his second season. Same thing with Jalen Petrie. And everybody saw how successful Petrie was, how hard-hitting he was as a rookie. He just has to wrap up more, get into a better football position, and complete some of the tackles he could have made. And he made a lot of good plays on the ball. And it's hard to teach that, to get a guy that makes that many plays, that's that active and instinctive. And then, Shaq Griffin, he's got to get healthy. And hopefully by the fall, that's where he is. So, he gives them some outside depth. They didn't feel great about having Desmond King be the outside corner. They feel like he's more of an inside corner, more of a classic nickel. And so that's why they made that move to sign Shaq. It wasn't a big market for Shaq, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't fit their scheme. There weren't a lot of other teams that were really bidding on Shaq. He was marketed to a lot of teams, and they weren't biting on him. And then, going over to the safety position, Jimmy Ward, a lot of leadership. One of the reasons that their vision for bringing him in was to help teach the defense and set a tone to, kind of have an aggressive, tough, rangy guy like Jimmy that will throw his body around, and they know exactly what they're getting with him. And you think about some of the depth they have there. Look at an MJ Stewart and Eric Murray. I think they have enough, even with Jonathan Owens now with the Green Bay Packers. I think they're okay. If they have an injury, they have someone that can line up. They should be all right. And then special teams. I was talking about Frank Ross today, the special teams coordinator. He's pretty excited about Tank Dell. You got to tell. I was at the UH Pro Day. I was watching Frank's interactions with Tank, watching him. He was running those drills, and he couldn't really hide that he was very excited about Tank. So, and they wound up drafting him, and he'll, along with Steven Sims and Desmond King, I think they've got some talented returners. And then the kicking game is in really solid hands with their punter and the kicker with Tammy Fairburn, and also with long snapper John Weeks. So I think special teams is solid. They were the top ranked special teams statistically in the Rick Gosselin annual rankings last year. So Frank Ross does a great job with those guys.
You not really in touch if you not tuning in. This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they about to stampede.